The Supreme Court upheld a federal law on Friday that bars guns for domestic abusers, rejecting an argument pressed by gun rights groups that the law prohibited, or the prohibition violated the Second Amendment. The High Court reversed a 2023 ruling by the New Orleans-based Fifth U.S. Circuit of Appeals, where a 3-judge panel ruled that the restraining order ban failed a test set by the Supreme Court's landmark 2022 ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Incorporated versus Bruen, which requires gun laws to be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Chief Justice Roberts, in the majority opinion, wrote, "Our tradition of firearm regulation allows the government to disarm individuals who present a credible threat to the physical safety of others." Now, this decision was 8-1, and we're gonna let you guess who the lone dissenter was. If you guessed Justice Clarence Thomas, you're right. He filed the lone dissent and wrote, what a surprise. He wrote, "The court and government do not point to a single historical law revoking a citizen's Second Amendment right based on possible interpersonal violence. Yet, in the interest of ensuring the government can regulate one subset of society, today's decision puts at risk the Second Amendment rights of many more." Brett, who do you side with on this, Thomas or everybody else?
I'm with Thomas. It's a slippery slope. One time you domestic abuse, fine. I guess it is serial domestic abusers. Anyways, like, whoa, you violently abuse someone and suddenly you can't have a gun? What? That's crazy. I think it's so hilarious that these folks are like, listen, if you're a felon or something, you can't vote, but you should have a gun. It's like that, like it's so transparent just how much they fetishize guns that they just, like, their hope, Justice Thomas's hope, is to get them guns into the hands of people who've been convicted of domestic abuse. Like, and you ask anybody who's been involved in that, that is a really, really horrible and very likely repeating issue that only escalates. And it is frequently only, like, that's the call that cops really don't want. Like, they really don't want the domestic violence ones because you never know what's going on because you might get killed.
The video will continue in just a moment, but first I have a message for you. TYT needs your help. Membership is vital to survival, so please go to tyt.com/team and become a member today.
This seems like a no-brainer in the fact that you had 8 judges. I mean, you have Alito siding with the liberals on this case, shows just how insane of a stance that the gun lobby and gun manufacturers are taking in this. They want everybody to have guns. That's dangerous. It puts so many people in harm's way. It's a very sensible measure. And the fact that we even got it to begin with does seem kind of crazy because the NRA and the gun lobby is extremely powerful. And typically they don't want anything, any restrictions whatsoever. You're seeing people, many Republicans and even some Democrats oppose background checks or closing the gun control loophole. And then the court, of course, last week just rejected the bump stock ban. I mean, that they did this on back-to-back surely creates some confusion, but it does show that there are limits to gun rights in this country. I mean, there should be limits to everything, of course, but for a problem as bad and as uniquely American as gun violence and access to guns in this country, I guess this is a good step. I mean, how do you feel encouraged by this, or is this just such a layup that everybody except for Thomas got it?
And when they disallow bump stocks, or when they allow bump stocks but disallow guns for domestic abusers, it's just kind of all over the place what they want, what the Supreme Court's doing, and it makes me feel like a ref that's doing a makeup call. Like somebody who's just like, oh, I think, and you know, I've said this on the show, but like we put our justices in robes and they're just like these floating dispassionate heads, and we do best as a country when we let that mythology pervade and when everybody believes that these are just wise folks who have no hearts. It's just wisdom. And they're like, we have weighed it. This is legal. That is not legal. We are just executing on the letter of the law. But in moments like this, Supreme Court specifically, and the way that each party, mostly though the Republicans, have completely defined themselves and set up their organizations to farm psycho justices all the way till they can put them in the Supreme Court. Like, it's really hard to ignore that when you see decisions like this. Like, the bump stock is the thing that makes the gun do the thing that we outlaw other guns for. And so why would you allow that? Like, in that scenario, it's like, oh, if we can get a handheld like trigger pull to launch a nuclear weapon and the bottom of it looks like a gun, that's legal because it's just an accessory. It's still a gun. I'm not going to ban the accessory. Like, it's just so weird and all over the place.
Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.